Okay. Uh, Governor Bowman, thank you for being here. Your predecessor, Vice Chair Barr, sat before this committee several times since the failure of SVB and never actually answered the question that I think is really important. Why was there no accountability at the Federal Reserve? We saw the second, third, and fourth largest bank failures, and till this day, I'm not sure we even know what really happened. Additionally, it is my understanding that no staff from the Federal Reserve or the San Francisco Fed were fired, suspended, or faced any real consequences. Do you believe that there was appropriate accountability for the failures?
Well, thank you, sir, for that question. I think it's an important issue and matter that we need to fully understand what happened in the run-up to and in the aftermath of the failure of Silicon Valley Bank. I would like to see an ability to understand how we could improve supervision going forward, and one of those ways that we can do from the record of Silicon Valley Bank and our supervision going up to it is to ensure that we're focusing on the core material financial risks that affect a bank's condition.
Let me ask it in a different way.
Sure.
Will you commit to fully investigating the supervisory, because there's no doubt there were supervisory failures. This is a really easy one from my perspective, and holding those accountable is our responsibility.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Speaking of the failure of Silicon Valley Bank, some have sought to blame S-2155, the Dodd-Frank Reform Act that we passed in a bipartisan fashion. They blamed the requiring tailoring of regulation, not deregulation, as a cause. However, it has been widely acknowledged that the main cause of SVB was interest rate risk. It appears that this bread and butter banking issue was missed by regulators in their supervision of the SVB. In fact, it seems that regulators were more focused on some called climate risk and were completely caught off guard by the interest rate risk. Former Vice Chair Barr testified that he was not aware of possible interest rate risk until mid-February of 2023, just weeks before the failure. In your role as chair of the board subcommittee on smaller regional and community banking, did you evaluate potential interest rate risks before February? Do you think the board could have done more to prevent SVB?
Yes, Senator, that's an excellent question, and I'd like to give you my perspective on as we were increasing interest rates in a dramatic fashion through the FOMC, it was important to me to understand what the impacts would be on our smaller bank portfolios. That was the $50 billion and below that I was responsible for in that subcommittee. We began shocking the portfolios of all of the state member banks within the Federal Reserve System and underneath our supervision up to 6%, so that we would understand what the impacts and implications of the increases in rates might be on those smaller institutions. We engaged in a number of conversations with state bank commissioners, with the banks themselves, with ABA and ICBA and their members as we were leading up to higher interest rates going forward. I also participated in a number of Fed Ask the Fed events where we talked about how we would be thinking about supervising the interest rate risk in these portfolios. And I also wrote an article that was published in the Community Banking Connections that was published in January of 2023.
I think it is safe to say that you took the interest rate risk seriously in your job on that subcommittee. Mr. Hughes, in my opening statement, I alluded to your operational experience at HUD, having served as chief of staff for 2 HUD secretaries. What lessons or insights did you learn as chief of staff that will enable you to be efficient and effective as deputy secretary at HUD?
Thank you for the question, Senator, and good to see you again. I know the secretary is looking forward to seeing you in your home state this weekend. My time under Secretary Carson and now at Secretary Turner, just overall, both of them are great public servants. And one of the things that I learned under Dr. Carson's leadership is to look at every issue, make sure that every point on a decision is given to him so they can make a good decision on the particular policy matter. Always listen to people and look at things with a compassionate lens. And that's something that spending almost 10 years with Dr. Carson that I learned, and then also putting the best people around the secretary. I was very passionate about personnel, and if you look at the last HUD team at the department, it was a really great group of people, and many of them have returned.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.